my super smart friends, influencers. There's a lot of questions about how to work with them. And here's one from Mayra. I have this product on Instagram and we want to create awareness. We think influencers could be a good choice, either moms or kids. What do you think about it? Are influencers really worth it? How can I approach them and how do we work with them? And I know a lot of you have these questions, so we're going to tackle them one by one, but let's start by talking about what an influencer really is. Technically, an influencer is somebody who influences people, right? It's somebody who can change somebody's behavior, persuade, get somebody to buy a product. So are today's influencers really able to make a change, to have an effect on people, to change behavior? A trend that I see in the influencer space is for brands to go very narrow within their industry. So if they have a food product, they're going to go for a food blogger, which is great. That food blogger may be an influencer in their space. But typically, the people who read their blogs are there to read recipes. They're not necessarily there to buy a product. Now let's think about that same food product. And let's look for another category where the people who follow that influencer aspire to be like them. I'm a member of this community called Street Parking, and it's a fitness community for people who have garage gyms. And I used to take collagen proteins before, but within this community, the leaders of the community who are influencers in the fitness space started talking about a different brand of collagen proteins. And then everybody started talking about how they use it. They put it in their coffee. And before you know it, I started putting it in my coffee and I bought this other brand. What really changed my behavior? It was the influence that that influencer had on the community overall that impacted my behavior. You see, a lot of times we look for an influencer that will directly impact an individual. It is much more effective if you look for influencers who have created communities, who have an impact on those communities, where they've created a movement throughout the community that makes people want to change. Then they will remember your product, buy your product, use your product as a result of that community influence. Most brands start looking for these influencers through lists or tools or searches, and that's great. But once you get past that point, there's a step that's usually missing, and that's the relationship building step. Follow the influencers, read their stuff, learn who they are, what they're into, stalk their communities. Because remember, we want to not just influence the influencer, we want to influence their communities. Don't send them one of those "let's collab" blanket messages. You want to personalize this message. Keep in mind that influencers get bombarded with pitches via email in their Instagram inboxes. To break through that clutter, you need to appeal to them in a different way. You want to talk to them like they're real people. Be warm and friendly. Show them that you have been following them and that you are true fans. Remember that most influencers want to work with brands. They just don't want to work with just any brand. And they definitely don't want to work with assholes. So be a nice, kind person. And a key word there too is person. Try to see from that one instance how much exposure you can get, but also offer to collaborate multiple times. Also, tell them what story to tell. See, if you send me a product, but you don't tell me, hey, we'd love for you to show to your audiences how you use our protein powder after you work out, or what you mix it up with. You put the pressure on me to figure out what story to tell. And that's a lot more work. So make it as easy as possible for them to tell a story, then it's a win-win for both of you. When you first get started, start with micro-influencers. These are smaller accounts, but that have high engagement rates. And also take a look at how they engage with people who comment and how niche they are and how good are they at telling their story. Micro-influencers are probably going to be a little bit more open about just taking product and not being paid, or their fees might be a little lower. And especially if you talk to them about creating a story together, maybe you can collaborate with them, not collab, collaborate with them, truly collaborate with them. You can get a lot of traction because their audiences are very tuned in. At Lightspan, we've worked a lot with influencers. And one thing that strikes me with brands that come to us to get our help is that oftentimes they've worked with influencers one time and that relationship then dropped off. That first time is just the beginning. You've put so much work to get on this person's radar, to have that initial relationship with them. Now keep collaborating with them. In marketing, we need repetition. For people to remember you, you want to be in front of their eyes as many times as possible. So continue working with that influencer. What other stories can you tell? Don't stop there. We constantly seek for that other influencer and that other influencer, and I hear brands saying, but we worked with that one. You worked with that one a year ago. Since then, they've accrued 100,000 new followers. We want to get in front of their eyes too. But is it worth it to work with influencers? It is, under the right conditions. We just ran a quarterly report for a client, and it showed that influencer work is incredibly valuable. And at times we see about 60% of brand impressions coming from that work. But we do it following these guidelines that I gave you. We're very particular about who we work with. We start with micro-influencers, we sustain those relationships, and we also don't forget our own fans. We also try to work with just all the other fans who share content about us. We don't ignore them just because they're not influencers. So I hope these tips help you. If you have any, I would love to hear about them. Drop them in the comments below. Shoot me a note, a message. You'll find me at @Anamika on Instagram, and I will see you back here next week.